Welcome to the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev, where we explore and share experiences, stories, and lessons 7 days a week from across the games industry, helping you make the best game you can. Stay tuned for today's episode. Good morning, Overload Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dev Talk, talking to game developers from across the world to bring you experiences, stories, and lessons 7 days a week. Today, I'm joined with David Jimenez to talk about his latest game, Dimension Drive. But first, David, please talk about yourself first and how you got into the games industry.
Hi, Adrian. Thanks for having me here. Well, I'm David Jimenez, and I'm the game designer of Two Awesome Studio, and one of the two guys that actually founded the studio in 2014. And I kind of got into the industry by my partner. He needed somebody to work with, and we started as doing this as a hobby in our free time, and it kind of built up into something more professional until we spent way too many hours working on this. That's more or less how it all started.
Great. Businesses snowball.
Yeah.
So speaking of the business, tell me about it. How big is the team? How big is the company? What's the structure? So on and so forth.
Yeah, it's. We are a small company. We are just two guys, myself and Alejandro Santiago, but we work with a team of freelancers for developing our games. We do this in a distributed fashion, so we don't actually have an office where we work. We work from different places, so everybody. For example, our main artist, who is Max Heider, works in Germany and works from an office there. I work from my home in the Netherlands, and we do more or less that. So you could say the company is just two people, but we are working around 8 people in the game at the moment.
Mm-hmm. All right. So speaking of the game,
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the game and what you wanted the player to experience.
Well, Dimension Drive is a smart shooter where you play with a unique dual screen teleportation mechanic. So what we wanted to players to experience was we wanted to take the memories of our childhoods and games like Gradius or R-Type, this kind of shoot 'em ups that we played when we were younger, and create something modern and something new. So bring it to the current generation with a twist, and that's what we have done. So I don't know if you've seen the game, but what we do is we split the screen kind of in what you would normally see in a two-player split screen game, but it's actually single player mode. So at any point you can teleport from one side to the other, and this creates all sorts of new ideas for the gameplay. Like you can use it to evade, you can use it also to attack enemies, because you can just teleport in front of them at some points. You can use it to dodge environmental hazards and to navigate around mazes that are impossible to cross otherwise, and all sorts of things like that are impossible in a game where you only have one screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets quite hectic.
Sounds quite innovative.
Yeah.
So when it came to creating the game, what was the first thing you did? Did you start off with an engine totally from scratch, or did you get a pre-existing engine and take it from there? What was the first thing you did?
Well, the first thing we did was throw a lot of ideas of what we wanted to do. So that was the first thing before starting anything. We discussed what are we going to do. We discussed even about doing platformers or doing a racing game. And in the end, we came up with this idea. Once we had this idea, a bit prototype in paper, and we had a solid plan of what we wanted to do. We did prototype that in XNA at that point, this quickly became a hassle because Microsoft decided to drop off all the support for XNA, and all of a sudden it was a dead technology. So we migrated everything to Unity, and that's what we are working on now.
All right, cool. XNA, yeah, I worked on a game with XNA quite a while ago,
Yeah.
2 years ago. So when it came to promoting Dimension Drive, what methods worked and what didn't work so well?
What we have been doing is we more or less promote it from the start, because as we kind of found this in a way, because the the game started as a hobby, as I was telling you, and we were not really promoting it. But at some point, we decided to attend a game dev conference here in the Netherlands, and we started showing the game to people, and they said, "Hey, this is cool. You could actually make a real full-fledged game out of this, and you should try to do that and bring it to more conferences and gather the feedback." So that's what we have been doing. I mean, we have been trying to go to as much events as possible. Right now, my colleague, for example, is in Japan in Tokyo Game Show, showcasing the last build of the game. So that sort of kind of worked for us, not only to get promotion for the game, but also to network with people, to get new ideas, new feedback. So it was like I would say a win-win situation, not just promotion. What didn't work? What didn't work? When we started developing the game in XNA, and we were doing this as a hobby ourselves, we were really afraid of, okay, people have told us that this is a cool idea, and but maybe if we start showing it or whatever, maybe somebody could copy it. So we kind of work on isolation for a while, and this, I think, it hurt us quite a lot, because we lost some months of precious time that could have been used to improve the game much better. And by that, I mean, when you are working in isolation, you don't get feedback, you don't get press, you don't get anything. And it eventually slows down also your progress. So this was quite bad in a way. And this is something I recommend not to do. If you're afraid of people copying your game, the best thing that you can do is actually showing it early and showing it from the start, showing it to as many people as possible. Because look, hey, if they copy you, well, at least you get a copycat, and everybody knows that your game is the original, and then there is a copy.
Oh yes.
May not work that well for other. I mean, our game is for PC, and this doesn't happen so much. But for mobile, I'd say it may be a different kind of advice probably.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm curious then, how is it you went about funding the game?
We've been funding the game from our own savings since the start, because both Alejandro and me, we work as engineer in the European Space Agency. So we are actually doing engineering during the day, and then we were working our asses off during the nights working on this, and that allowed us to be basically free workers. So we have 2 people in the team, the 2 of us that are working for free, and for the rest of the team, we were paying them out of our own savings. But we decided to put an end to that, because in the end it was not sustainable. As you can imagine, we couldn't keep paying everybody from just our 2 salaries. So in the beginning of 2015, we decided to start working on a Kickstarter campaign, and we launched a Kickstarter campaign in April. And yeah, and that's how we are funding the game now. We successfully finished the Kickstarter campaign, and that's what we are using to pay the rest of the team.
Well, that's very interesting, especially part-time working at the European Space Agency. Different. Don't hear that very often.
I guess so.
So I'm curious then, how is it you're getting feedback for the game and getting QA for the game?
Well, as I said, we are a small team, so we cannot really pay for QA. We have to QA a lot ourselves. We have to QA with friends, but they are not professional beta testers, and they could never replace a professional beta tester. So our intention is by the end of the development cycle, try to hire somebody that could really QA the game properly. But at the moment, we are just doing everything internally among ourselves and also with our own community. Now we have around 1,200 backers from Kickstarter that we give them the different versions of the game as we are progressing on the development, and they tell us, hey, this doesn't work, you should fix this, or I like this, maybe you should tweak the power of this weapon, or the speed of the gameplay, or all sorts of things. So we get feedback. I mean, of course, they are not there to do QA and bug fixing on our game, but in a way, it's really cool that they are interested and they want to help with that, because it's one of the things that people don't realize when they try to launch a crowdfunding campaign, that you not only get funding, but you get the core of your fan base. And that's one of the most precious things that you can get, disregarding, of course, the funding that you manage to achieve.
That's cool to know. Funding and fan base, that's great. So what was cut from the game and why?
What was cut was the game is, as I said, is a shoot 'em up at its core, with a dual screen teleportation mechanic, and it's a very story driven game, contrary to what normally shoot 'em ups are. So we have a whole comic book story that we tell using animated motion comics in between the levels. So this is still part of the game. But in the original plan that we had, we wanted to have RPG elements also into the game, kind of that you could improve your ship by leveling up. You could actually have a say in how the story develops, have different kind of endings for the story, and how the different characters could interact. But it was way too big, so we had to cut at some point. We decided that this was not what made the core of the game fun and enjoyable. It was more an add-on and something that we would have liked to have, but doing an RPG and doing it well is a huge amount of work. So we decided to cut this early on. This was cut actually before porting to Unity. So it was a decision that we took long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Great. So otherwise not been fun. I understand the priority in that.
Yeah.
So David, what was the biggest thing that you learned while working on the game?
I would say meet people that know things.
All right.
That's the best thing that we learn while working on our game. As I said, rather at the beginning, we decided to switch from being closed to have a very open kind of development. So we have been showing our alphas everywhere. I mean, they are public still. You can download the latest alpha from GameJolt or IndieDB and give it a go. And we really encourage that. We do Twitch from time to time where we show how we are actually developing the game. So, and we try to attend as many events as possible and network with people, talk with people, because many of the times your friends and family, your people that are closest to you, they will out of respect, most likely they will not give you useful feedback, because they are afraid of what you would what would be your reactions. But when you go to events like this and you talk to other game designers that are in the industry, they are not really afraid of that. They are not really afraid of telling you, hey man, this thing in your game is crap, or I don't like this. This is going to hurt your game really dangerously, or things like that. So this is really useful, and we really like that. So for example, we submitted the game to Indicate, and we were not selected, but we were extremely happy because we got like 2 pages of feedback from the jury, and the feedback was actually spot on. I would say it was really useful. Some of the things were already in our development plan, and so they really spotted things that we should actually change. So what's good is to find that a couple of days ago when the feedback was sent to everybody that participated to Indicate, some people was moaning about their feedback, that complaining that my feedback was harsh and whatever. I don't know. I really don't get those people. If you didn't want this kind of feedback, why did you ask for feedback in the first place? Don't go in. Uh, I don't know. I prefer the honest truth and be able to fix it than find problems later.
That's great. Yeah, feedback is very important.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to learn or who you might meet or just what might happen by asking questions and meeting people and
Exactly.
conferences and a very important networking.
Yeah.
So, what game development related book, lecture, or learning resource can you recommend?
I mean, there are lots of resources, but I'm not going to recommend a book. What I would recommend is that you go every morning and read Gamma Sutra. Go there,
Okay.
but go for the blogs that are done by contributors, not the editorials, because many times um, you see blogs that are done by collaborators, by people like me and other developers that are working in the industry, and you can go there and write your articles, and you can really find very useful information there. Things from really technical about shaders or AI. I saw recently a blog about random dungeon generation. That was It's not my thing, but it was really interesting. And then you can find blogs about more marketing or industry stuff. So there's really everything there if you just search a bit on it.
That's great to hear. Marketing and such very important, very important.
Yeah.
So, like an Evernote or a Trello, do you have a useful or productivity enhancing software app or website worth sharing?
Um, we use Trello. We use also Slack. I don't know if
Ah,
you know that one. Probably somebody has mentioned it before,
oh yes.
but what I found that most people don't normally mention, and I find it useful, is there is a website called Game Dev Resources, where it's just a huge collection of links to like everybody everywhere else, and it's really useful to have everything in a single page where you have information. So you have links to game engines, you have links to artistic tools like Photoshop or GIMP or whatever, and you have links to useful game development sites. You have links to calendars where you can find game dev conferences. You have links to press kit resources. You have links to almost everything. I can share with you the link if you want.
Later,
Yeah,
that's all
sure.
right. And lastly, David, what advice can you give to aspiring game developers, small indie studios, and people trying to get to where you are today?
Mm. Well, I don't pretend to be anybody. I mean, we're just in the middle of our development cycle with our first commercial game. So why would you pay attention to what I should say? But if I say something, what I would like to the advice that I would like to give is that in general, ideas are useless and worthless. Everybody has ideas. I mean, I talk to many people that come up and say, "Hey, I have this cool idea about the game," and I say, "Okay, go do it."
Mm.
So that's the best advice that I can do. Go execute, prototype, show it, and repeat. If it doesn't work, if people doesn't like it, go ahead and throw away your idea and start over, or fix whatever is wrong with that original idea. But just having ideas means nothing nowadays.
Yes. Yeah, nothing unless you turn them into action.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Mm. So, so David, what is next for you, and what's the best way to contact you?
Well, what's next for me is I'll keep working on the game. Actually, I just received another build from my colleague Alejandro that did it like 30 minutes ago. I have to test it, and he will be showcasing it tomorrow again. And and yeah, the plan ahead is to keep working on the game to have a release as soon as possible. We have promised our backers to have um, playable, almost final version before the end of the year. That's what we would like, and probably a final release, a commercial release around sometime next year, I would say Q2 of next year, something like that. So that's our plan. Yeah, and the way to contact me is you can find me on Twitter. My Twitter is Dajimba, or you can search also for the Twitter of our company. It was on Studio.
Okay, yeah. Oh, brilliant. So David, it appears that we're out of time for this episode of the Daily Dev Talk. It was very interesting talking to you. Nice to know that people still try to use XNA, and to know that ideas, and people to realize that ideas are useless unless turned into action, and highlighting the importance of conferences and networking and getting feedback, not just from friends or family, but from random people and other developers. Always that feedback to improve. So a good few things to think about and remember here, David.
Thanks.
So wish you well in future endeavours. And it was great talking to you. So stay tuned, Overload Nation. More videos to come. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev. If you are a game developer that wants to get your name and game out there and to share your experiences and stories, or you have feedback or opinions of the show, then contact me at info@gameoverload.co.uk. That's info@gameoverload.co.uk. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, more to come.